It's a privilege here to welcome our speakers today. We have a fantastic lineup, and we'll be joined by some of our Rogers Smart Building partners and the Rogers product team. Today, you'll hear from Rebecca Delzalti. Rebecca is a product manager within the Smart Buildings and Construction portfolio, and she is passionate about bringing on partnerships that can help create operational efficiencies for buildings and to ensure the security of buildings, assets, and people. Rebecca will walk us through some of our smart buildings and construction portfolio and the importance of mitigating risks in our buildings. Next up, we'll have Sam Reed. Sam is the Director of Partner Sales at Eddy Solutions, and he's spent over 20 years in the fast-paced IT and telecom industries. He's worked with organizations at the startup level and also at the enterprise level, and his focus has been on partner management. Today, Sam will provide an overview of the importance of water leak detection technologies. And last but not least, Taylor Lush is here today as well to join us. Taylor is one of the sales representatives at Caliber Communications. And since the launch of the Rogers and Caliber Communications partnership, Taylor has worked as the new business development manager, acting as the primary point of contact between both sides of the partnership. Today, Taylor will give us a look inside how smart surveillance technologies can help reduce the frequency of security threats and why this is crucial. So in today's presentations, the panelists will share with us the different ways that we can help mitigate risks in our buildings. Before we kick it off with the presentations, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather here today. The land acknowledgement is a way that we are raising awareness of Indigenous presence and their traditional territory in everyday life. Together, we are on a journey of reconciliation and continue to build an inclusive workplace for Indigenous peoples and all our teams. Toronto is the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon territory, the dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. The dish, or sometimes it's called the bowl, represents what is now Southern Ontario, from the Great Lakes to Quebec and from Lake Simcoe into the United States. We all eat out of the dish, all of us that share this territory, with only one spoon. That means we have to share the responsibility of ensuring the dish is never empty, which includes taking care of the land and the creatures we share it with. Importantly, there are no knives at the table, representing that we must keep the peace. Thank you. Okay, and now without further ado, take it away, Rebecca Delzalti.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Andrew, for your warm welcome. As Andrew indicated, my name is Rebecca. I am one of the product managers at Rogers, and I manage the Smart Buildings portfolio. I want to thank you all for joining today. It really is a pleasure to be speaking this afternoon or morning, wherever you're joining us from. I am in the GTA, and it is a very snowy afternoon for me. Pretty and festive from the inside, not so much on the outside. I find people forget how to drive on the first snowfall. But let's get started. So smart buildings. And what I want to do is I want to take a moment to level set with all of us in this room today on the concept of smart buildings. And I'm sure if we were to sit and think about what smart buildings means to us, we would all have some similar sentiments. But how does Rogers understand this definition? So on the very basic level understanding, it's strategically placing technology in a building and making that building smart. But it's much more than this. It's taking that technology, machine learning, the analytics, the data, the systems, bringing all of these components together and bringing value to the stakeholders in a building. And the stakeholders could be the building owner, the operators, the property managers, and also the occupants. And each stakeholder is going to have different needs, and they're going to have different definitions of what is valuable to them, stakeholder to stakeholder. So for example, the building owner is concerned with keeping assets safe, increasing value, managing costs. So the question from the building owner may be, how can technologies bring down costs? Whereas the property manager is concerned with increasing efficiencies, being proactive. So the question might be, how can I use smart building technologies to help reduce operational efficiencies? And then we have the occupant. And I would argue this being the most important stakeholder because they use these spaces every day. They keep buildings and businesses going for the large part. Well, the occupant, they're concerned with adaptable working environments, making work easier, more comfortable, and more safe. So the question coming from the occupant may be, how can we use technology to drive crime down in, said neighborhood? Each stakeholder is going to have a different view, and each view is right. So within our Rogers portfolio, our smart buildings ecosystem, we want to make sure that we're working with partners that can help address these various concerns and challenges through smart technologies and drive real business outcomes. And these smart technologies, whether we're talking about a commercial building, residential building, bank, even a street light post, can allow for better decisions, saving money, all while making sure that buildings, assets, and our people are safe. And I just want to quickly bring attention to what's here on the screen. This is a snapshot into our Rogers Smart Spaces solutions. It's a mix between buildings and cities solutions. And at Rogers, we have a vast range from digital signage, for example, that will help make sure that the right message is being communicated to the right audience. So for example, maybe you're looking to attract new customers. So you want to highlight promotions or new products. So displaying menu boards at your pizza shop with those fully software, and with the click of a button, it can be updated to highlight price increases or a daily special, or perhaps you wanted a new festive holiday treat that you have at the grocery store and alternate those products on the screen. Perhaps Tuesday, you want to highlight the new cheese that you have in from Europe and suggestions of wine to pair with that. This can spike sales. We also have smart cities solutions that can help reduce traffic congestion, limit frequency of accidents, help direct occupants around the city to make sure that they're getting to the parking spot. And let's be honest, occupants, myself included, we're not fond of driving in circles and around trying to find a parking spot before an interview, or you're looking to pick up groceries after a long day. Studies actually indicate that an occupant, if they have an easier parking navigation experience within your parking lot, they're more likely to spend more money. So let's help occupants get to where they want to go faster with smart technologies. And lastly, I will touch on is at Rogers, we also offer a variety of technologies that will help reduce risk to your properties. This is pivotal, whether that be security threats in your building, assets to the people, to protection against water damage, which is one of the biggest risks to a property today. Water damage destroys flooring, carpets, drywalls, our belongings, and it's a huge expense for a business. Even if we're thinking about the residential space, a flood means dispersing tenants, and that's going to cost you. Now, I'm not going to steal the thunder of our guest speakers today because risk mitigation is exactly what we're going to be covering, how to protect our properties, and we're going to Reed and of course Taylor Lush. What I'm attempting to underline here is through Rogers Smart Buildings and Smart Spaces, a portfolio at Rogers, we can provide real and tangible business outcomes depending on, what that core challenge may be that you're looking to solve for. But why do we care? So I have alluded to this. I've noted a few key things. Why do we care? Why should we care? Why does smart spaces and buildings matter to us? Well, the short answer is that they do provide those key business outcomes. And there's also a series of global trends that will really impact the real estate industry, and business owners and managers alike will have to actively consider how to accommodate for them. Number one, buildings are no longer thought of as a mere cost center. There is an increased focus on making these structures more effectively run for owners, operators, and occupants. So, to this end, companies have to embrace initiatives like the Green Building Certification, the WELL Building Standard. And the reality is that by 2030, which is just around the clock, 60% of all people will reside in cities. This is a fact. This is twice that of the 1950s. This means that buildings are having to operate more efficiently to house residents, to house people. And our Rogers Smart Technologies can support operational efficiencies, reducing that energy consumption, improving resource utilization, saving companies money, and allowing for a more effectively run business. And number two, I want to highlight as a result of the pandemic, there is this great resignation looming. We're all aware of it. There is increased turnover, lack of employees in the physical building spaces. Employees are demanding more comfortable working environments. Smart building technology can improve occupants' comfort, which allows for staff to be more productive and happier. There's a lot of studies out there to indicate a variety of building design and operational strategies affect our indoor environmental quality. So, in other words, using smart building technologies to improve occupant experience through higher air quality, for example, a more pleasant, functional working area, it tends to result in valuable savings through a decreased absence of staff and actually lower staff turnover. And this is going to also boost brand perception, attract top talent, which to any business should be critical to increase sales and, of course, keep strong employees. And lastly, but certainly not least, as a result of COVID, buildings, spaces are left more and more unattended. There is less people in a building to make sure that product is not being confiscated. For example, in gyms, equipment is being stolen. That's a real problem where employees and gym members are confiscating weights. There is less people in a building to ensure people are free from danger. Sexual harassment or assault is on the rise, especially within smaller businesses. There's also less people in a building to hear that leaky pipe that is dripping. Well, now that leaky pipe has been left unattended and it's going to cost you. So smart technologies can reduce the impact and the frequency of potential risks in your buildings. And today we're going to learn more from our Rogers Smart Building partners on how to mitigate risks in your properties, which will ultimately increase occupant experience and is also going to drive those operational efficiencies. So with that, I will hand it over back to you, Andrew, to intro the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's some really amazing work that you and your team are working on. When you think about it, it's pretty critical these days when considering the fact that, many buildings are left more and more unattended these days. Of course, as a result of COVID-19, we have corporate offices, banks, car dealerships, even webinars, which are left with less and less people. So, but that being said, technology, I think with the technology that you mentioned, we can, it definitely will go a long way to keep our spaces safe and free from threats. So that being said, next up, we'll hear from Sam. Sam, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. And thank you for those who've taken the opportunity to join. I'm Sam Reid. I'm the Director of Sales here at Eddy, responsible for our channel partner program. I've been working with the Rogers team for 18 months and been with Eddy for 2.5 years. So before I get into kind of who we are and what we do, I want to highlight, some key statistics that, really exemplify why water is such a challenge in buildings today. Insurers are especially saying that water is the new fire. And the reason for that is it is the leading cost for them when paying out on insurance claims. So right now in Canada, they're paying about $2 billion a year out, which equates to about 70% of all claims that they have in the commercial space. And as we all know, once insurers start paying out in a certain sector, they start to adjust rates and deductibles accordingly to ensure that they remain profitable. Also, another leading statistic is, in terms of individual claims, the average claim on a commercial size project, under construction is just over $300,000. Now, in terms of who Eddy is a North American-based technology company founded in 2015. So, we're just past 7 years now. We've done a lot of work, in the past 5 years in the commercial multifamily space, and that's where our continuing focus is today. We have done a little bit of work in residential. That's where we actually started, but we've shifted focus because there's a greater need and risk for these larger commercial properties. A couple key milestones for Eddy this past year. One is we actually acquired another leak detection company called Reed Water. We brought them in-house to become, a larger, more strategic company with a greater resource from both a sales and engineering standpoint. And we were also earlier this year listed on the TSX Venture Exchange. We have a number of partners. Rogers is our leading partner on the telecommunications side, but we work with a lot of other verticals as well, including leaders in the developer, constructor, and property management space. In terms of our products, there's a number of different products that Eddy will use to protect your property. I'll start on the left here, talking first about our Eddy IQ. This is an all-in-one device that goes on to pipe sizes up to 1 inch. This device has a built-in ultrasonic flow meter to capture flow rates right down to 0.1 liters per minute. It gets very granular, and it also has a built-in automatic shutoff valve. This device will use behavioral learning to understand the usage pattern and water flow through a specific area of the building. And when it detects an anomaly, it will send out alerts. Automatically, it's sent out text in emails, and then we have a call center that will make calls as well. And then the device will automatically shut off to protect that area of the building. Now, this device will only support pipes up to 1 inch. For most larger properties, that isn't sufficient. That will likely be a subsystem. So we also have other devices that will support pipe sizes up to 24 inches. And it's basically the Eddy IQ broken up into multiple pieces, and we call it the Eddy Link and then the Eddy Valve. The Link is a control module, and that will connect to an existing flow meter. That flow meter can then provide data back about flow and consumption for that area of the building. If there isn't a flow meter available, we also have those that you can add as well. And then the Link will also connect to an actuator on the valve. So when a shutoff is necessary, it will shut down the water to that area of the building. And the way we augment the system to provide really granular data about where leaks are coming from is with our H2O sensor. The H2O sensor is a wireless device that can be placed anywhere throughout the building to help isolate and pinpoint where leaks are occurring. If you want to see an example of the size of it, I'm just showing it up now. So it's very small, discreet, and very easy to deploy throughout a building. The two silver connectors that you see, those is what needs to come in contact with water in order for it to activate. The device is recessed about 1/8 of an inch, so that way, a little spill of water is not going to set it off. It does require an accumulation to prevent false positives. And again, once the device picks up that water is present, you get the automatic alerts through email and text, as well as the calls from our call center. In addition to detecting water, this device will also, through that pinhole, monitor ambient air, temperature, and humidity readings. These are great additional insights to have. There are some properties where they have challenges with tenants leaving doors and windows open and going away for the weekend. This is the time of year you don't want that to happen, because then pipes can freeze and burst. So this will send an automatic alert once this device senses temperature below a set threshold. Could be 5 degrees or 10 degrees. Also for humidity, monitoring, enclosed areas where small leaks, what we call pinhole leaks. When those develop, sometimes the water doesn't accumulate. It will just absorb into the material around it. So having that humidity data is going to give you that insight that there is moisture building up in that area, and someone should investigate to see why that's occurring. So all of our devices use a wireless protocol called LoRaWAN to communicate. LoRaWAN is just simply a low power wide area communications technology that enables really strong and robust communication, especially through larger buildings. Concrete rebar insulation is a challenge from an interference standpoint, but LoRaWAN is very resilient to that. And as a result, if we were deploying in, let's say a lower, mid, high-rise building, we would only need one gateway every second floor. In terms of how the devices communicate, so as I mentioned, we use LoRaWAN. The gateways are then powered by the Rogers network. The Rogers network will then send the data to our cloud so it can be available through a couple of front-end systems. For smaller deployments, we're going to leverage our Eddy app that is accessible through either Android or Apple phones, or for larger deployments, and this is what we traditionally use, is our property management dashboard. This dashboard gives the property owner and management team the ability to view all of the consumption data for the property, as well as all of the alerts coming in, any of the data from the sensors, including the temperature, humidity readings, and battery level. And then also gives them the ability to control the system. So any of the valves throughout the property can be turned on and off automatically through this property management dashboard. As I mentioned, we also have a 24/7 monitoring center. We're monitoring for all alerts coming in. It's very easy for people when they're working throughout a property to get distracted by other jobs that they're doing. An alert from our system is usually considered a higher priority. So when it comes in, we're also calling the property to ensure the appropriate actions are being taken. And then if necessary, we can also turn off the valves on our end to, again, ensure the property is protected from further issues. We do have APIs available to enable integrations into other backend systems as well. In terms of data collected, the biggest thing we're monitoring for is the flow and consumption in the building, because that gives us a lot of data and insights as to where challenges might lie. And one of the things that we're going to monitor for are continuous flow events. Those continuous flow events will indicate that there is likely a challenge in the building, and it could be either leading to damage or it might not. So for commercial properties who are using automated flushers, when those fail, toilets can run automatically. Residential properties, leaky flappers on toilets or leaking sinks are a fairly common occurrence. So those are the sorts of things we can also identify by capturing these flow rates. Now, regardless of, what the flow rate is from, the more severe the flow rate, the shorter our threshold is for alerting of a potential issue. We don't want to be shutting down the water just because it's a really low flow. That isn't going to cause a lot of damage. So we'll let that go for a little bit longer, but those thresholds tighten once the flow rate gets higher. So combining this with the temperature and humidity alerts is going to give you a lot of great insights to not only mitigate risk from the building, but also to plan preventative maintenance activities. As infrastructure ages, it's going to be more prone to failure. So by having these insights available, it's going to give you great insight as to when you should start doing repairs and/or replacements to the critical infrastructure of the building. Next slide, please. Thank you. So by having these insights, especially around consumption, will enable you to plan on how to save water for the building. And being able to reduce the consumption of water in the building, could help you move towards some of the sustainability targets that you have for your property. As ESG becomes more and more important in terms of building operations, as well as what tenants or owners will look for in a property, this is one valuable asset that you could also include on top of the protection that you're going to be receiving for the building. By reducing consumption of water, there's also a trickle-down effect to other systems. So you think of being able to reduce water consumption, it's reducing the impact on the municipal services that have to deliver and treat that water. So it's going to reduce energy to the building as a whole. There are a number of areas that we can protect throughout a building. I know this one shows a high rise. If you're not working with a high rise, the concepts can be applied just on a smaller scale. So we'll almost always put a shutoff valve on the main point of entry where the water's coming into the building. And this basically would be for, a catastrophic event that's happening into the building. You want to be able to have an avenue to shut that down and, mitigate any further damage. And we will do this for both the domestic cold systems, usually, on the lower level, and then the hot water systems as well. They could be either on the same level or in some cases on larger buildings in the mechanical penthouse. For larger buildings that have their water systems segmented into zones, we have the ability to put valves onto the zones. That way you can isolate a portion of the building so you minimize the impact to the tenants if a shutdown is required. Another key aspect of water in buildings, water is also used for heating and cooling in many cases. This system is called a closed loop system. So we can monitor this as well to ensure that, anytime water is being added to that system, it's not an excess amount. Closed loop systems by nature don't need a lot of additional water once they're filled. So we can monitor that to ensure that it is, not asking for additional water. And then as well, we can place our sensors throughout the building in the common areas, the mechanical penthouse, the booster pump room, any other critical utility spaces, as well as amenity spaces. So if you have a gym in your facility or, a party room or a kitchenette, those sorts of areas could have the sensor as well. For in-unit, there are a number of different areas that we can protect. This is giving a snapshot of a residential view, but you could also apply the same concepts to a commercial property. You see on the far right there in the little cupboard, there's 2 IQ meters on the hot and the cold line. Again, those could be done either residential or commercial, and those would provide isolation at the unit level as well as a shutoff. We would also put one of our H2O sensors inside that access panel to monitor for any leaks of the riser, because those typically wouldn't be visible until the damage is, has spread quite far. Also through the unit, we would monitor fan coil units or heat pumps because those have a tendency to have failures, whether it's a backup from the condensate pan drain or one of the risers bursting. So those are areas we can monitor as well. And then throughout the unit, other water appliances, kitchenette, washrooms, laundry areas. One of the great advantages of working with Eddy as well is we have a number of strategic partnerships with key insurers. So the names you see on the right are some of the insurers that we're working with today. And with them, they've recognized our solution. They will recommend it to their clients. And there are potential incentives available. Whether that's during construction, during the builder's risk phase, or once the building gets into completion, or if it's an existing building that we're putting our system into. And if we are deploying into a residential style property, even the homeowners, the condo owners would have the ability to claim some form of insurance incentive. So, all the stakeholders are going to be able to take advantage of it from an insurance standpoint. So in terms of what makes Eddy a leader in leak detection, I've mentioned most of these today. I'll just close with a couple of key points. First is our full-term warranty, maintenance, and support. Our typical contract is 5 to 7 years. During that time, the system is fully maintained, supported, and warrantied, and that's a significant difference over all of our competitors who are usually in the 1 to 2 year space. Also, whenever you're looking to put connected devices into buildings, data security is always top of mind. With our solution, we've implemented a number of measures to ensure that the data, but more importantly, the control of the system is as protected as possible.
Great. Thank you, Sam. It's quite a timely solution. Now, with that being said, it's time for our first Q&A session. I'm sure you all have some great questions for Sam. If you have a question, please use the chat box and we'll address your questions. Okay, so I see one has come through here. So I wouldn't want the sensors to be placed in plain sight. Do you place the sensors in a way where they're located away from, I guess, field of vision?
Yeah, well, that's always a concern because, you know, depending on where it's being deployed and the type of building, you know, especially let's say it's commercial, then people are worried about someone just picking it up and walking away with it. So we usually strategically place the sensors, you know, to be a little bit more discreetly placed. So if it was in a kitchen, for an example, it would be underneath the dishwasher behind the kick plate. You know, if it's in a laundry room, then it's going to be behind the washing machine. In a washroom, it's going to be, you know, in behind a toilet or underneath the vanity. We also do secure them down. We have brackets that they do go in to secure them in place. If we have to find ways to, you know, even make them more secure than what our traditional bracket is, we have ways of doing that as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. One more question has come through. What is the warranty like, and maybe you can talk about the pricing model a bit.
Yeah, so sure. As the warranty, as I mentioned, it's full term to our typical agreement. So, you know, 5 to 7 years, depending on what initial term is set up. So if you signed a 7-year agreement, it's full 7-year warranty. The pricing model is a little bit more convoluted because there's so many different property styles out there. But you know, from a kind of budgetary standpoint, you know, you're looking for a new build around 2 cents per square foot per month. And then for a retrofit, you're in around 3 cents per square foot per month. And
Perfect.
sorry, and that would be the equipment amortized over that term as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. Well, thanks everyone for your questions. Love the enthusiasm for the product. And if, let's see here, I just believe one more has come in. Okay, are the residential sensors connected via Wi-Fi, and would it require high signal strength?
No, so as I mentioned, we use LoRaWAN, which is a little bit of a different technology than Wi-Fi for all of our devices. And when we deploy our solution, we ensure that the signal strength is adequate for the entire property. It's part of the service that we provide.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you again, everyone.
Yes, and what I'll do is after the webinar, actually, a member from the Rogers team will be following up with you, just in case you have any additional questions, and we can address them as well. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce Taylor Lush. Taylor is a sales representative for Central Ontario with Calibre Communications, and yeah, Taylor will be the last presentation for the hour, and I know it's gone by really quickly. So over to you, Taylor.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Really appreciate that introduction. So as mentioned, my name is Taylor Lush. I am the partnership manager and the new business development manager between the Rogers and Calibre Communications partnership there. I've been with Calibre Communications for just over a year now, and I've been heading up this partnership for about 9 to 10 months of that year. So it's been quite the experience, and we've definitely got a lot of great opportunities out of it. So yeah, that's just the gist about me here. So as mentioned here, we are Rogers' smart surveillance provider. Now that may be a term that's unfamiliar for some of you, and I understand that. It was unfamiliar for me when I first started here. But smart surveillance is a little bit different than your standard surveillance offering. Most quote unquote surveillance people seem to think of as CCTV, like it's interchangeable. You're rolling cameras, you're rolling footage, you can access that footage when you need to, and that's about it. What we find is that oftentimes isn't enough. The big difference between a standard surveillance system, CCTV, that will provide evidence of a crime or something like that that's already taken place. Smart surveillance, which is where we come in and our technology, The difference that we provide is that we're able to actually deter crime, deter accidents, deter things of that nature because we have our own monitoring center here. And also we have the technology behind all of our hardware in the field, such as our AI and our detection tech. So I'll get more into that now. But I believe the first slide we have here is a video.
Our objective is clear: the early detection and deterrence of criminal activity in real time. Through hardware and software engineering, we've created the most innovative monitoring platform to date, synergizing the limitless potential of future technologies with human intuition. Our proprietary communication protocols over cellular allow for up to 4K resolution transmissions of live video feeds, as well as a multitude of other transmission pipelines for peripherals and additional data metrics. Each unit is completely autonomous, with communications engineered into each device, allowing for a high level of redundancy. In rare situations where one unit fails, the other units on site remain fully operational. Synchro AI, our dedicated on-site neural net, is utilized to train custom subsets for specific client analytical needs. This system intelligently recognizes human beings for crime prevention, as well as many other objects, with additional custom detections added regularly. Our revolutionary video monitoring system utilizes a high-resolution, long-zoom PTZ camera that provides a full view and control of the site for live video patrolling and evidence collection. 2 high-resolution stationary cameras with the ability for additional cameras to be integrated when needed for analytic recognition and situational awareness. Our strobe lights are used to identify threat locations and is a visual deterrent to trespassers. And our proprietary speaker protocol guarantees the most reliable and clear communication in the industry for fast and effective deterrence of crime. Our optional license plate reading cameras capture images with our proprietary Synchro Plate system automatically databasing them for your review. And optional thermal identification cameras with full-range analytics are used for detection of intrusion in no-light situations. All of these peripherals are engineered for synchronicity and create the most advanced modular remote video monitoring system available to safeguard your assets. Our units are placed strategically around the location to provide optimal security coverage, with fixed cameras providing perimeter coverage, PTZ cameras for evidence and detail collection, and plate readers at road access points, culminating in complete coverage and security of your project. Our in-house technicians utilize snapshots from project cameras in 4K resolution to produce high-quality time-lapse videos of your project being built, brick by brick. Our system technicians customize analytics to each camera view to maximize detection effectiveness. When a perpetrator approaches, our monitoring operators are quick to respond with voice commands to deter and will inform authorities when required. The operators gather and qualify evidence and create log reports to keep you informed of the ongoings at your location. All of the security-related information from your property all in one spot. This is security made simple. Our proprietary system provides a user-friendly location to obtain critical security information from your property in real time and viewable on all of your devices, keeping you informed exactly when it happens for complete transparency and accountability. Synchro Plates is an innovative and proprietary license plate reading system and searchable database that provides evidence that aids in police apprehensions, while also being an exceptional site management tool, allowing you to whitelist or blacklist vehicles, track arriving or departing employees, and even verify deliveries. Synchro Alerts provides alert emails and SMS text messages exactly when you requested them. It's that simple. We are changing the way you view security. We are the future of security today.
Okay, so hopefully that gave everybody a decent overview of exactly what it is we do. I'm obviously going to go into a little bit more detail here. The one thing I'll point out is that video uses construction as a very heavy example of what it is that we do and some of our verticals that we cover. That is true that we got our main foothold in the construction industry. That's how we started. That's how we've kind of grown so fast as a company. But we are, dispersed across a number of different verticals. Power generation, electrical grids, utilities, you name it. We have a sole source contract with Hydro One, as well as some other, large corporations like the Sabres corporations, which operate Value Village locations across North America, just to name a couple of the bigger clients that we have. So one thing I'm going to walk you through here is what we call just a theft scenario, an unprotected site versus a site that utilizes our Caliber Communications technology here. Again, this uses construction as an example, but again, this can be applied to many different verticals across the board. So as you can see here, Friday at 11:56 p.m., two perpetrators, approach a construction site or the perimeter fencing of a site. 11:59, they use bolt cutters to gain entry to said site. By midnight, they begin gathering the expensive trade equipment, tools, high-value materials. A lot of that time is copper wiring and things of that nature as well, and other precious items near the fence opening. By 2:30, they've already left with everything that they've gathered in the van they brought to the site, like carrying off with over $100,000 worth of trade tools, equipment, and materials. And Monday at 6:30 a.m., if you have a standard remote monitoring system or a standard camera system, that's when you'd find out when somebody arrives on site, what happened, what you're missing, and then you'd have to check the footage to see, what you can do about it, what kind of views you had, things of that nature. So if we can go to the next slide, I can show you the comparison of exactly what would happen on one of our protected sites. So same time frame, Friday at 11:56 p.m., two of the perpetrators approach the site perimeter. They're immediately detected by our video monitoring team through our Synchro AI. Our Synchro AI is able to pick up a human being within the frame of that camera. It will generate an alert, send it to our monitoring center, which is just down the hall from me here in Stony Creek, Ontario. From there, they will receive that alert, jump on the PTZ feeds of that site, confirm there is somebody on site, and go from there. So once they confirm somebody is on site, police are immediately dispatched to that location. Operators begin tracking the suspect using the PTZ to make sure they can't escape site. And if they do, they can tell the police officers where exactly on site they escaped to. From there, our monitoring team instructs police exactly where on the site the perpetrators are to make sure that we're gathering the most valuable video evidence as possible. Police get to the site, directed to the location of the suspects. Then from there, they can make the apprehension. And then by 12:30, basically, less than half an hour or just a little bit more than half an hour after the individuals are initially detected, you're going to receive a full report of exactly what happened, exactly the steps that we took, and the eventual outcome, and all the evidence involved, whether that's pictures, videos, what have you. So this is just an overview of exactly what it is we do and how it works. As you can see, the device there is a standard Caliber Communications unit. The data that it gathers, as you can see, it's the feeds from the stationary cameras, the PTZ cameras, the data from the use of the speaker through our monitoring center, and any optional license plates that are captured, as well as the box you can see below there. That's our Synchro Detect box. It's another optional service, but from there we can utilize smaller sensors such as magnetic door contacts or motion sensors. So for example, if there's one doorway that's explicitly off limits after hours, or if there's something that you're trying to protect specifically, we can use one of these smaller sensors. That'll generate an alert every time motion is detected or that door contact is broken. And then the same series of events will occur from our monitoring center. We'll use that information, use the PTZ to first voice command the perpetrators off site. And if that doesn't work, we'll get the police involved. All of our information, we go back quickly? Perfect. All of our information, and this is a big differentiating factor from Caliber Communications as well, all of our information is transmitted over the cellular LTE network, as we mentioned in that video. We're the only people who can operate this way in North America. We have the patents for said system, so we're the only people who can operate over the cellular LTE system rather than needing an existing Wi-Fi infrastructure. So all of that information, not only is it broadcast from the units to us, we're also putting it into Synchro Reports, which, as the video mentioned, is our data management software. And every single one of our clients has access to that software. So you'll be getting real-time updates from people who are trespassing on your premises, license plates that are picked up, if that's a service that you use, whatever photo and video evidence of people, trespassing or trying to break into your site, you'll be automatically updated with that as soon as it's put into our system, and our monitoring center puts that information into that system as soon as they receive it. So we can go to the next one now. So just a high-level overview of what a standard unit looks like. 2 stationary cameras and a PTZ, as mentioned in that video. PTZ standing for pan, tilt, zoom. That is the camera that our monitoring operators can operate when trying to follow a perpetrator. And also through Synchro Reports, that's the camera that you would be able to operate remotely during non-monitored hours. We also have our units, they have a strobe light and also the live communication speaker that was mentioned in that video. That is how we, verbally voice command people off of your site when they're not supposed to be there. That comes directly from one of our monitoring operators. It's not a standard recording saying that you're being monitored. It's a real human being speaking live to those people who are on your site unauthorized. So a little bit more into Synchro Detect here. Again, I covered this briefly earlier, but these are the type of smaller sensors that can be utilized with the Synchro Detect box. As you can see, the magnetic door contacts and the wireless motion detectors. These give you another additional layer of security on top of the standard caliber communications unit, which allows you to have kind of a macro view of your site and its security, and also a micro view by using these smaller sensors if needed. We also have solar powered units. Our units run off about 30 watts of power, which is about the same amount as a standard light bulb. So if we're ever in a situation where there's not reliable power on site, we can operate a unit just through solely through solar power. I mean, most of us, I'm assuming, live in Canada, and with the weather these days, obviously solar power on its own can sometimes be an issue during the winter. So we'll also provide our clients with a 24 or 72-hour battery backup, just in case we get repeated days like today, where it's overcast and snowy, and obviously not the ideal circumstances for solar power. We also have trailer units for times that we need to move our coverage around on site. We also have solar trailer units where we don't have anything to mount on. We don't have anywhere to put our standard unit. We could wheel in a trailer unit, extend the arm straight up from it. You'll get the same level of capability from a trailer unit as you would a standard unit. And you can either choose to have a powered trailer unit, which comes with a 300-foot power cord, or a solar trailer unit, which, as you can see, comes pre-equipped with solar panels. And both our standard solar units and our trailer units have the same level of capability as our standard caliber communication units. So I'm sure now that I've mentioned everything, being transmitted through the cellular LTE network, I'm sure there's been, at least some internal questions about network security. We have our own proprietary MPLS system, which means all of the data stays completely private and accessible. You cannot access the data that's being transmitted through standard internet. Make sure that there's a layer of separation between people using publicly registered networks and our MPLS system to make sure that there's no risk of feeds being hacked or data being stolen due to the use of one of our units. This makes sure that we're transmitting data extremely efficiently, and your privacy and your data are essentially inaccessible and impervious to any hacking attempts thanks to the system. So a little more overview on the tech behind it. I've already mentioned Synchro AI, which is our homegrown or house-built AI system. We're one of a handful of companies in North America to build their own AI and neural network from the ground up. And the reason we did that is because it allows us to have that greater level of detection. A lot of quote-unquote competitors in the sphere will use standard motion detection. They can't tell the difference between a tarp flapping in the wind or somebody breaking onto site and stealing materials. The difference between us and potential competitors is that our system is smart enough to recognize a human being in the frame, and that's when it generates an alert, not when a squirrel walks by just because it detects motion. Further, we have some advanced certifications that nobody else in the industry has. We are Canada's first and only UL and ULC certified monitoring center. What that means is we've put the redundancies in place to ensure the absolute minimal amount of potential downtime from our monitoring center. So the building I sit in right now, where our monitoring center is housed, has 3 forms of power: a standard shore power, battery backup power, and a generator if necessary. Our monitoring center is monitored by a third party. So basically, we have somebody watching us while we watch our sites. And the reason that we do that is because of all the criminal activity that we've helped to, deter, and some of the criminal activity that we've provided evidence for. We've helped put some people in jail. So as you can imagine, people might want to take some revenge on us, and we are fully prepared for that eventuality. And if all else fails, let's say our monitoring center goes down by some act of God, we have a secondary monitoring facility 10 minutes up the road. So if something goes wrong here where our systems go offline, all of our monitoring operators can get in their car, drive 10 minutes up the road, sit back down, and continue monitoring all of our sites. And one further note in regards to compliance and certifications, all of the units that we put out into the field are CSA inspected and SPE 1000 compliant, and we're the only people who do that with every single unit we put out into the field. So I believe the next slide is a Synchro AI video about our human detection. So this one has no sound, so I'm just going to talk over it. So as you can see, we have somebody at a condo build or finished condo build, unauthorized after hours. You can see it's generating a person alert there. Every time one of those rectangles shows up, that represents an alert that's being sent to our monitoring center. From there, as I mentioned, they're going to get on the PTZ feed, verify that threat, and then handle it accordingly. So once the threat's been verified, the AI gets turned off, and we turn into basically spectators as to how the police handled it. As you can see, the police show up on scene very, very quickly. And from there, the suspect is very quickly apprehended. And one thing that we will do is we'll monitor the entire situation from the moment that we detect somebody on site to the moment they're escorted off the site. And the reason that we do that is not only for the safety of the officers, but the safety of the potential perpetrator as well. We find everybody behaves a little bit better when they know there's an eye in the sky, so to speak. So this is just an example of our monitoring operator making sure they follow the police all the way to the vehicle to make sure that we have every possible angle covered. Another example here, this was on one of our power generation sites, I believe, out in Alberta. As you can see, the system is detecting both of these perpetrators as they're trying to steal material on site. And already, as you can see the camera moving around, our monitoring operator is operating that camera and following them as they move across the site. So we're going to see here in a couple of minutes, they're going to escape through the hole they made in the fence and enter into a vehicle. As you can see, they're running very, very quickly to their vehicle. And you're going to see here in a couple minutes, as they take off and drive away, once they get everything sorted out and get the car started here, they attempt to drive away. And as you can see already, there's a vehicle right behind them. That is the police. So the police were quick to respond and make sure that apprehension took place immediately. So you're going to see here, they realize in a couple of seconds that they're pretty well caught, and they end up pulling the vehicle over, and they are apprehended by the officers on scene. So as you can see, the officers approach, the suspects exit the vehicle and give themselves up because they know they're as good as caught. And one final example here, this is from one of our Savers Corporation sites that I mentioned earlier. These fine gentlemen are stealing donations from the donation bin. So as you can see, AI works as planned. It's detecting these human beings. And as you can see, it's already being monitored by one of our monitoring operators. So it can pick up both these human beings, generate these alerts. We zoom in to make sure we have their license plate recorded and on file. And then from there, as they tried to escape, they were quickly met by the police, who escorted them back to the donation site so they could give back all the stuff that they were trying to make off with. So as you can see, they're bringing everything back so it can get to, to the donation bin and then handled by our clients as they see fit. So that's just an example of how our AI works. We're able to utilize our AI for fire as well. That's a little bit different than our human detection, but it is another option that we have. So I'm just going to talk quickly about Synchro reports here. I know the video partially covered it here. But Synchro Reports is the data management system that we use, and we have access to all of our clients. So you'll have access to all of our log reports. Whenever anything happens on site, our monitoring operators will create a log report. Incident reports, that's whenever we need to call the authorities onto your site. And we also have an on-staff investigations department. So what an investigation is when something takes place during non-monitored hours. Monitored hours are 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. If something takes place during the standard workday, like an accident, incident of violence, attempted theft during daylight, you can email us. We will go and review the footage and provide you with all the potential evidence of that of that event that took place while people were on site. Synchro Plates, that was mentioned briefly in the video as well. We are Canada's largest non-law enforcement database, largest civilian database of license plates, because every single license plate that we detect, we take a snapshot of, and our software can actually meta tag that plate and store it in our database to make sure that should something happen with a specific vehicle and we wanted to blacklist that plate for future incidents, we can do that. And then finally, Synchro Alerts, that's how we can customize your experience with Calibre Communications. We can provide, alerts for any number of things that is, rampant on your site, whether it's trespassing, theft, vandalism, anything like that. And if you want to be notified via email, via text message, via phone call, some combination of the three, that is how you customize our service to you. So there we go, perfect. I'm just going to quickly, I know we're short on time. I'm going to quickly.
We're going to leave a few minutes for Q&A.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly mention I already mentioned our sole source contract with Hydro One. This info is a little bit outdated. We have over 150 total sites now. And as you can see, a large number of criminals deterred and arrests made and log reports and license plates captured. The next one is Savers Corporation, as I mentioned before as well. I believe that's the next slide. Yeah, there it is. As you can see, we have far more than 30 sites now. I believe we're over 70, but as you can see, the number of trespassers and criminals deterred, arrests made, log reports, license plates, all a very massive number for that number of sites. So as you can see, we're guarding those sites very, very efficiently. So we can move on to the end here.
Great.
For the time.
Thank you, Taylor. No, that was great. And yeah, having secure buildings, I mean, that's very important to the occupants, and myself included. We want to make sure we're working, shopping, or living, in a safe space. So there is one question did come through here. What does the panel think about fire mitigation? So Taylor, I'll hand that over to you.
Yeah, so what I can tell you about fire mitigation is we actually have a very similar, it was actually initially included in this presentation, but we're making some tweaks to it, so I didn't want to speak directly to it. Basically, it operates in a very similar way as our human detection. So it can detect fire as soon as as soon as a blaze pops up, or as soon as a small flame pops up, we can detect that fire within 3 frames of video, the same way that we can detect human beings within 3 frames of video. So the way that you saw our human detection behave, that's very similar to how our fire detection behaves. The only reason we took it out of this presentation here is because we're making some tweaks to it, but it is another option that we have.
Thanks, Taylor.
No problem.
And now, if there are any additional questions, as I said earlier, our team will be following up with you. And you can connect with a Rogers team member who will be able to answer those questions as well. I know we're timing out here, but just one last thing here I wanted to share with you is our smart buildings video. And the video actually demonstrates all of the smart building solutions that we offer.
The way we live and work has changed. The world is connected and always on. The buildings you manage need to evolve to keep pace. Busy tenants and employees expect homes and workplaces that are safe and responsive to their needs. Renewed focus on the environment, including regulations and incentives, makes sustainability essential, reinforcing the need for cost-effective solutions. Smart building technologies help reduce energy costs and consumption by up to 50%. You can remotely monitor the buildings you manage, receiving alerts when an intruder is detected or a component is in need of repair. This ensures that all of your staff are deployed effectively. Collecting real-time data will make property operations even more efficient, as artificial intelligence and machine learning help solve problems and allocate resources automatically. Predictive maintenance, for example, helps increase the lifespan of equipment and infrastructure, while AI-optimized systems like HVAC and plumbing significantly improve your building's efficiency. This will have a direct impact on occupants, reducing CO2 emissions, personalizing wayfinding, optimizing cleaning and sanitizing of washrooms, and enhancing security while preserving privacy. All of these solutions improve both physical and mental well-being. Businesses benefit by attracting a loyal customer base. Employers benefit from modern, sustainable amenities that keep their teams happy, engaged, and productive. Rogers for Business has joined leaders in smart building solutions to help you design, implement, and manage next-generation systems for both existing properties and new builds. Let's take your building into the future today.
Great. And just for everyone's information, that video is available on our website. That's rogers.com/smart-buildings. There's also a lot of informative information that you can find on the website. Now, yeah, with that said, we're at the top of the hour. I just wanted to thank everyone for attending the webinar. We hope that you learned something new today and gained some insights into, some of the amazing Rogers partnerships that we have and the importance of risk mitigation. Also wanted to extend a big thank you to our presenters, so Rebecca, Sam, and Taylor. We couldn't have done it without you. And thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.